I'm from the Resource Impact Assessment team at NICE, and as we've heard earlier today, any of the technologies covered by the medtech funding mandate should have a NICE Resource Impact Assessment template published on the website. So I'm just going to spend a few moments just telling you a little bit about the templates themselves. Next slide, please. So for those of you who aren't aware, the Resource Impact Assessment templates focus on the financial and capacity impact of implementing the guidance. So they're Excel templates and they look at the current practice and future practice, and the difference between the two is what we call the resource impact of implementing the guidance. They do differentiate between cash and non-cash costs and benefits, which we know is very important, and we include VAT in the tools when it's applicable. They consider a 5-year time frame and they're usually based on the population of England, although the populations can be changed very easily. Next slide, please. OK, so where do you find the resource impact assessment tools? Well, alongside the guidance tab at the top there, and this is just for a medical technology, there's a tools and resources tab. And if you click on that, all of the tools and resources that NICE has published to support implementation of guidance will be found. And you can see towards the bottom there's a resource impact section where you can see a resource impact template. And you'll also find any resource impact reports or statements that we've also published to support the guidance. OK, next slide, please. OK, so how do we use the resource impact tools? So when you open up the templates themselves, you'll see a series of worksheets. And I'm just going to focus on 3 of the worksheets that are you'll find in all of our resource impact templates. So the first one's the assumptions input worksheet. And at the top, what you do is select your population. As you can see, the population's defaulted to England, but there's little drop-down boxes where you can select your local population and also manually input any particular population that you prefer. And towards the bottom of this screen, you can see a couple of columns highlighted blue. The key thing to take away from this is that any of the cells that you can see in blue are amendable. So as we work through the patient pathway, looking at eligible populations, current and future practice, what should really focus in on the tools is looking at any blue cells, seeing if you agree with the data that we put in there, and if you have better local data, amend those cells, and that data will then feed through into the rest of the template. Next slide, please. OK, so a worksheet that you'll also find within all of our tools is the unit costs worksheet. And the same principle applies really. We'll have pre-populated the unit costs that we're aware of. If we haven't got precise costs or they're confidential, then there'll be blue cells that are blank. So the same theory applies. Find the blue cells, see if you agree with the data we've put in there, amend it, and that will feed through then into the rest of the resource impact assessment template. So for this example, we've just got the consumable costs of all the different BPH products in question, and we're asking users then to go in and fill in those products, the unit cost for those products to feed through to the rest of the template. Next slide, please. OK, the last worksheet I'm just going to highlight is the resource impact over time worksheet. And this is where, again, at the top in blue on the left-hand side, we've got local assumptions for current practice, and on the right-hand side, local assumptions for future practice. So this is where we look at uptake over a 5-year period and the difference between what we think is happening now and what will happen in the future. And that obviously works through the template to generate the resource impact. And next slide, please. This is just a little extract of the resource impact over time worksheet, and it really just shows all the work that you put into the template feeding through to this bottom line. So you've got costs of current practice, costs of future practice, and the net total resource impact. And what we try and do then is break that down into the different elements. So you can see in this case, we've got different consumable costs, bed day savings, and so on. And that really is the basis behind all of the templates. And I think last slide from me. A few hints and tips. I won't run through these because of time, but I would encourage you to use the guide worksheets within the resource impact templates. There's one in there for all of the templates. And please do contact us if you're struggling with any of the templates at all. There's a contact detail on the slide there. Get in contact with us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can and offer you either an email or a phone discussion to help you with the templates.